Are you considering moving your family to Aledo, Texas? Well, in this video, I'm gonna cover the top 5 reasons why I chose to do just that. So a little bit of backstory is that I actually grew up in the DFW Metroplex. Grew up in the Arlington and Grand Prairie areas. Then I bought my first home in Arlington, bought my second home in Fort Worth, and then me and my wife decided to move our family out to the Aledo area in early 2020. And now that was the early days of the pandemic. The real estate market had just shut down, restaurants were closed, nobody was going anywhere, and it was a really weird time to buy a house. But I have to tell you that Aledo had such a strong pull. Aledo was always one of the top 2 or 3 places that I wanted to live and my wife wanted to move back to. That's a little bit of our story, is that she grew up in Aledo. That even in the midst of all of that uncertainty, we were willing to pull the trigger and make that move out to the Aledo area. So in this video, again, I'm gonna cover the top 5 reasons, and there's so many other reasons, but I'm gonna cover the top 5 reasons that me and my wife chose to move our family out to Aledo. By the way, my name's Jared, and if you wanna know everything there is to know about living in Aledo and the surrounding areas, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and that way you'll be kept up to date with what's going on in the Aledo market. And if you have any questions at all, whether you're considering moving next week or next year, give us a call, shoot us a text, comment below. Happy to help any way I can. So without further delay, let's get into the top 5 reasons why you should consider moving to Aledo. So reason number 1, and this won't surprise anybody who already lives in the area or in the DFW Metroplex, but the public schools. Aledo ISD is ranked in the top 10% of all public school districts in the state of Texas. So not only do they have a great football program, they've won 12 state championships with their football team. They have a great marching band, they have good other sports, but their academics are actually really good as well. So the school district is really important for a lot of people moving to Aledo. And you might be saying, well, Jared, I'm not gonna be using the school system. I don't have kids that are gonna be going to the schools. And I'd have to remind you that the public school system is a very large driving factor of home values. So whether or not you're gonna be using the public schools with your kids or not, whenever you go to sell your home, that's gonna be an important factor for someone else coming in and moving into the area. That's probably one of the biggest factors that anybody moves to Aledo, is the great public schools. And not everyone's gonna use the public schools. Like I said, what if you have school-aged kids and you don't wanna send your kids to public school? Well, I've gotta tell you, we've used some of these. There are also good private schools in the area, and there are also good homeschool, co-op, and hybrid programs. So there's a little bit of an option for everybody. There's even a pretty reasonable sized homeschooling community in the Aledo area. One interesting fact about Aledo ISD is that there's actually more students enrolled in Aledo schools than the entire population of the city of Aledo. And so one important thing to point out, I probably should have done it earlier, is that most of the time when people say Aledo, or they're moving to Aledo, or they're looking for a home in Aledo, they don't necessarily mean inside the Aledo city limits. Aledo ISD is a much larger area than the Aledo city limits. It's huge. So it covers lots of Willow Park, lots of Hudson Oaks, Aneta, a large amount of unincorporated areas, and then a large area of places that might have like a Fort Worth address, when really we consider that Aledo because it feeds into Aledo ISD. So that's an important thing to remember. When someone says they live in Aledo, they might mean somewhere not in the Aledo city, but just somewhere in the Aledo school district. So reason number 2 is location. It's right off the highway, about 20 minutes west of Fort Worth. So you have access to all the big employers in the Fort Worth area. You've got the hospital district, you've got Lockheed, you've got the Joint Reserve Base. So I have a number of clients who are Air Force pilots, Navy pilots. And the cool thing about that is that they can transition from their military service as a pilot, and then they can transition to work for the airlines. They can go to work for an airline that flies out of DFW International Airport. And while that drive is a little long, you might not want to make it every day, it's still a reasonable drive for like pilots to make to get to DFW. Now it's also, like I said, it's right off the highway. You've got Weatherford Lake a little bit further west, and Aledo is just a really great suburb of Fort Worth. Now a lot of times a lot of the building goes north from like big cities. So you've got like the Keller area up north, and the traffic is just insane. So one of the things that I was worried about when I first moved to Aledo would be traffic. coming into Fort Worth in the morning and leaving Fort Worth in the evenings. And I gotta tell you, yeah, it slows down a little bit, but rush hour traffic coming home to Aledo is nothing like rush hour traffic going north of Fort Worth or going east of Fort Worth towards Dallas, or even south. 35 north and south through Fort Worth is just really bad for rush hour. So location is a big plus. You're still really close to Fort Worth, easy access to anything you want. You're right off the highway, but you're not having to deal with tons of traffic. Reason number 3, home and neighborhood selection. So because there's plenty of space, Aledo is still being built out. So there's lots of new construction homes and neighborhoods alongside pre-existing homes and neighborhoods. So whether you're looking for a brand new home or a home from the 80s or somewhere in between, you can find something. And then one of the things that you really just can't get anywhere else is space. So Aledo has a lot of lots and neighborhoods with larger lots, half acre and plus. So, if you want to go to an older community that has some land and some space, you've got Deer Creek with large lots. You've got McDavid Estates with an acre plus. You've got Stone Creek Farms with an acre plus. If you want a newer home with a large lot, you've got Bear Creek, you've got La Madera. You've got all of these variations of lot sizes and age. If you want the master planned community, you've got Walsh Ranch with multiple pools, an amenity center, a makerspace, parks galore. They have the sidewalks that, you get to know your neighbors throughout the neighborhood. But also you can find 5 or 10 acres off a back highway road, and you can have your own personal space and kind of be your own private retreat. So just the selection of homes and lots and layouts and living experiences is a huge variety in Aledo, and that's a big plus as well. Okay, reason number 4, and this might be a boring one for some of you, but it's property taxes. And don't lose interest on me just yet. I'm gonna tell you how you can save hundreds or thousands of dollars on property taxes every year by moving to the Aledo area. Now in Texas, the average property tax rate is somewhere between 2.2 and 2.3%. The tax rate was just decreased. It used to be like 2.7-ish, 2.9%. So that your average tax rate, like if you're in the city of Aledo, you're gonna pay around 2.2% on the value of your home. But if you find a home in an unincorporated area that still feeds into Aledo ISD, you won't pay city taxes. So that's where I'm at. I'm in a neighborhood called McDavid Estates. It's outside of city limits. So my tax rate is 1.79%. So that's about 0.4% that I save on taxes every year. And that's about $2,000 for me a year that I save on taxes by not being located inside an actual city. So that's something to consider when you're moving somewhere, especially if you're coming from a state, unlike Texas, that has really, really low property tax rates. Texas is one of the states with higher tax rates across the board than other states, and it's because we don't have a state income tax. So that's been a shocker for some clients moving from other states. They're like, oh my gosh, your property taxes are huge. Well, if you're considering moving from a different state, you can buy a home outside of city limits and save some on your property tax. Okay, last but not least, reason number 5 is it's a great place to raise a family. So niche.com actually puts Aledo as one of the top 10% of cities to raise a family. And that's for a bunch of reasons. Some of the stuff I mentioned previously, like the school district. There's also really low crime. But part of this is almost like a self-fulfilling thing, is because more families move here, it becomes a better place for more families. So our neighborhood is great, but every neighborhood that I've been in, I can always see families and kids walking down the street, playing on the sidewalk, playing in the parks. My wife will take our kids to a public park, and you end up talking and chatting with the people who just showed up to the public park. You have like trick-or-treating is really common and it's fun and everyone does it. Like our neighborhood's great with trick-or-treaters. There's a neighbor that drives kids around the neighborhood in a trailer, like a hayride. There's July 4th parades. So Aledo's just a really strong family value city. And separate from that, on the personal side, my wife grew up in Aledo. She graduated from Aledo. We actually bought our home in the same neighborhood she grew up in, and her parents are still in the neighborhood. So for us, it was also a really strong personal connection of like, we want to move back, we want to be close to family. And this is a great place that we're excited to raise our kids and be around other people who have similar values as we do. So those are the top 5 reasons why I moved my family to Aledo, Texas. And if you're considering the same and you need any help or you have any questions about any area in or around Aledo, my name is Jared. Don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to call, text, email, or even just book a Zoom link. Because whether you're thinking of moving next week or next year, my goal is to be a resource and make this transition as smooth as possible for you. And remember, if you want to know about what's going on in Aledo, Texas, hit the subscribe button, then the bell notifications so you get the updates.